My wife called our son spoiled. For wanting his dream school, she said, "College isn't a gift, it's earned." I replied, "Okay, then check the fund I'd built for 18 years, and saw it was gone. What I found in the transaction history told me why. My wife just said that. About our 17-year-old son, the kid who'd just gotten accepted to his dream school. The kid I'd been saving for since the day he was born. Hey viewers, before we get into this absolute nightmare, hit that subscribe button. This is a story about what happens when someone you trust destroys everything you've built for your child. I'm Corin Maddox, 45 years old, IT field tech, which is a fancy way of saying I climb cell towers and crawl through server rooms fixing equipment. My hands are usually covered in cable grease, my knees are shot from crawling through tight spaces, and I make about 60 grand a year. My wife, Serafina, she's a VP at a major telecommunications corporation, makes $280K annually, drives a Lexus, wears designer suits. We've been married 20 years, and honestly, we were never in the same league. She was always ambitious, always climbing, always focused on the next promotion. I was fine with that. Someone had to keep the house running while she worked 12-hour days. Someone had to make sure our son Zayden had dinner, got to soccer practice, finished his homework. That someone was me. Zayden's 17 now, senior year, smart as hell, 4.2 GPA, captain of the debate team, volunteers at a food bank. He got early acceptance to UC Berkeley, engineering program. Full ride wasn't an option, but I had it covered. See, from the day he was born, I'd been putting money away. Every bonus check, every overtime shift, tax refunds, birthday money from grandparents. Everything went into a college fund. By his 17th birthday, I had $43,000 saved. It was in a joint account. Required both signatures for withdrawals over $5,000. Safety measure. Made sense at the time since it was both our money going in, even though 90% came from my paychecks. 3 weeks ago, Zayden came to me in my home office. I was doing some freelance work, trying to pad the college fund a little more before tuition was due. "Dad, I need to show you something." He looked uncomfortable, handed me his phone. It was an Instagram story. Some guy named Jet Morrow, mid-20s, gym selfies, that douchey influencer vibe. The story was a video of a brand new BMW 4 Series. Convertible. Probably 50 grand easy. The caption, "Early birthday present from my sugar mommy #blessed, living my best life." "Okay," I said. "Why are you showing me this?" "Look at the background." I zoomed in. The car was parked in front of a cabin. Not just any cabin, our lake house, the place we'd bought 10 years ago as a vacation rental. Serafina managed the listing. My stomach dropped. Is this guy renting our place? I don't think so. Look at his other posts. Zayden took the phone back. Scrolled to older posts. There were dozens. Jet at fancy restaurants. Jet at our lake house in different seasons. Jet wearing a watch I'd seen in Serafina's car. And in some posts, just barely visible in reflections or backgrounds, was someone who looked a lot like my wife. "Dad, I think Mom's, don't say it yet." My hands were shaking. "Let me check something." I logged into our joint savings account. The college fund. Balance, 287. I refreshed the page. Same number. I checked the transaction history. 3 withdrawals. $15,000 in January. $18,000 in March. $10,000 last month. Every single one had been authorized with both signatures, mine and Serafina's. But I hadn't signed shit. I confronted Serafina that night, waited until Zayden was in his room with headphones on, showed her the bank statements. "Want to explain this?" She barely glanced at the papers. "Explain what?" "Our son's college fund is empty. Where did $43,000 go?" "I used it. It's my money too." "It's Zayden's money. That's money we saved for 18 years for his education." She set down her wine glass. "And I decided he doesn't need it all at once. UC Berkeley? He can go to community college first. Transfer later. Save some money." "Save money? You just spent his entire college fund." "On what?" Zayden's voice came from the hallway. He was standing there, pale, Serafina looked at him with actual contempt. On things that matter. You're spoiled, Zayden. You think college is just going to be handed to you. Real life doesn't work that way. I worked my ass off for that acceptance. His voice cracked. 4 years of perfect grades, debate team, volunteer work, and you can do all of that at community college. Build some character. Learn what it means to earn something. I stood up. This isn't about character. This is about you stealing from your son. I didn't steal. I'm his mother, and I'm your wife. That money was in a joint account. That required both our signatures for large withdrawals. I never signed anything. For the first time, she looked uncomfortable. You were busy. I handled it. The next morning, I went to the bank. Asked to see copies of the withdrawal authorizations. The manager brought them out. All 3 had my signature. Or rather, they had Serafina's version of my signature. I'd been working with documents long enough to know a forgery when I saw one. The loops were wrong. The pressure was different. It wasn't even close. This isn't my signature, I told the manager. She looked nervous. Sir, both account holders signed. No, one account holder signed. Twice. This is fraud. I filed a report. Right there in the bank. Then I went to a lawyer. Filed for divorce that afternoon. When I got home, Serafina was in the kitchen, acting like nothing had happened. We need to talk about Zayden, she said. He's being dramatic about this whole thing. You need to back me up. Back you up. You committed bank fraud. You forged my signature to steal our son's college fund. Don't be dramatic. The money went to family purposes. What family purposes? A BMW for your boyfriend? Her face went white, then red. You don't know what you're talking about. Jet Morrow, 24 years old, works in your department. Posted about his sugar mommy buying him a $50,000 car. That's where our son's money went. He's not my boyfriend. He's a colleague. A colleague you bought a BMW for using forged documents. She grabbed her purse. I need to go deal with this. You need to go deal with the divorce lawyer. Papers will be served tomorrow. She left. Didn't come back that night, or the next night. Zayden and I sat in the living room the second night. He was doing homework, trying to act normal, but I could see him wiping his eyes every few minutes. Dad, I can go to state school. It's cheaper. I can work part-time. No, you earned Berkeley. You're going to Berkeley. But the money, we'll figure it out. My brother-in-law Ryland called that night. Hey man, heard about Serafina. You guys need a place to crash. How'd you hear? She called her sister crying. Said you're ruining her life over money. Her exact words. She stole $43,000 from our son's college fund to buy her boy toy a car. Long silence. Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah. You and Zayden can stay here as long as you need. We packed that night. Took everything that mattered. Left Serafina the house she'd always cared more about than us anyway. A week later, I got a call from Serafina's parents. Alawan and Bram. Old money, country club types. Never approved of me marrying their daughter because I wasn't professional enough. They wanted to meet, to discuss the situation. I met them at a cafe. They showed up in matching Range Rovers. Sat down across from me like they were at a business negotiation. Corin, Alawan started, this has gotten out of hand. Your daughter committed fraud. That's a harsh word, Bram cut in. There was a misunderstanding about account access. There was no misunderstanding. She forged my signature. 3 times. That's a felony. Alawan leaned forward. We understand you're upset. We're prepared to make this right. We'll replace the $43,000, plus another $20,000 for your trouble, on one condition. Which is, you drop the fraud charges and sign an NDA. This stays between us. No police involvement. No company involvement. Company involvement? They exchanged looks. Bram spoke. If this becomes public, Serafina could lose her VP position. The company has strict ethics policies about fraud and inappropriate workplace relationships. Her career would be over. Good. She committed a crime. She made a mistake, Alawan said. She's getting counseling. The relationship with Jet is over. She wants to make things right. By paying me to shut up about her felonies? By protecting the family reputation while making you whole financially. I sat back. Let me get this straight. You want me to let your daughter get away with forging documents, stealing from her son, and having an affair with a subordinate employee, all because it might hurt her career? We're thinking of Zayden, Elowen said. How will it look for him to have a mother with a criminal record? How does it look for him to have a mother who stole his college fund to buy her boyfriend a car? Bram's jaw tightened. Don't be stupid, Corin. $63,000. You could send Zayden to any school he wants. Or you can drag this through courts, traumatize your son, and end up with nothing. I stood up. I'll end up with my dignity, and my son will end up knowing I fought for him instead of taking a payoff. I left them sitting there. That night, Ryland came to me with something. I did some digging, called in a favor from a buddy at Serafina's company, and the BMW wasn't the only thing. Jet's got gambling debts. Bad ones. About 30 grand worth from some underground poker games. Guess who's been paying them off? No. Yeah. Your son's college money didn't just buy a car. It bailed out her boyfriend's gambling problem. I felt sick. How do you know this? Jet's been bragging about it to coworkers. How his lady is handling his problems. How he's got it made. Everyone at the company knows, man. They're all talking about it. That's when I decided. I'd been trying to handle this quietly for Zayden's sake. Trying to just divorce Serafina and move on, but she'd used our son's future to pay off her boy toys gambling debts while her parents tried to bribe me into silence. I wasn't staying quiet anymore. I had one thing Serafina didn't know about. The lake house. It was in my name only. I'd bought it before we got married. Never transferred the title. It was worth about $200K. I'd been planning to sell it eventually to help with Zayden's housing costs at college. I called a realtor that night. I need to sell a property, fast. 2 weeks later, I had a cash offer, accepted it immediately, closed in another week, walked away with $195,000 after fees and taxes. I paid Zayden's first-year tuition in full, set aside money for housing, books, expenses, put the rest in an account in just his name. When Serafina found out, she lost it. Called me screaming about marital assets and financial abuse. That house wasn't a marital asset. It was mine before we married. And unlike you, I actually used it for our son. You can't just, already did. Zayden's college is paid for. Without your help, without your parents' hush money. We're done, Serafina. The divorce moved forward. Serafina's lawyer tried everything. Claimed I was hiding assets, claimed she deserved the lake house proceeds, claimed I was alienating Zayden from her. Zayden shut that down himself, wrote a letter to the judge explaining what his mother had done, how she'd stolen his future, how she'd called him spoiled for being upset about it. But here's where it got interesting. I'd been staying quiet about the affair. Let Serafina think I was going to handle it privately. But about a month into the divorce proceedings, I got another call from Ryland. Man, you need to hear this. Jet's posting again. He sent me screenshots. Jet had posted a selfie in the BMW with a caption, "When your sugar mama's husband finds out but you still got the car #worth it." He'd also posted photos of cash, stacks of it, with captions about how stupid some people were for funding his lifestyle. This idiot was literally bragging about using my son's college money for his gambling debts and luxury lifestyle. I made some copies, took them to the CEO's office of Serafina's company, requested a meeting with the board of directors. The company took it seriously. They had to. A VP was having an affair with a subordinate, using forged documents to steal money that she then gave to him. It violated about 20 different company policies. They launched an investigation, interviewed employees, pulled records. What they found was worse than I thought. Serafina hadn't just been giving Jet money. She'd been giving him promotions he wasn't qualified for, assigning him to projects he couldn't handle, covering for his mistakes, all while having an affair with him that everyone in the office knew about. The board fired her. Not quietly, either. They made a statement about serious ethical violations and abuse of power. Industry folks talked. Word spread. But it didn't stop there. The company sued her. Civil suit for reputational damage and breach of fiduciary duty. Turns out having a VP publicly humiliated for an affair with a subordinate, hurts the company's image. Jet. The second Serafina lost her job, he was gone, blocked her number, sold the BMW, disappeared. He left behind about $40,000 in debts, credit cards he'd opened in Serafina's name, loans he'd convinced her to co-sign, gambling IOUs he'd promised she'd cover. Serafina's parents had to help her with the lawsuits. From what I heard through Ryland, they were furious. All their talk about protecting family reputation, and she'd destroyed it anyway. The criminal case for the forgery was slower, but the bank had cooperated with prosecutors. 3 counts of forgery, 1 for each withdrawal. Serafina's lawyer got it pleaded down to probation and restitution, but she still has a criminal record now. As for me and Zayden, we moved to a new city, fresh start, rented a small apartment near his future campus. It's not fancy, but it's ours. Zayden starts at Berkeley next month, engineering program. He's excited, nervous, but mostly just relieved that he can go at all. He doesn't talk to his mother. She's tried to reach out, emails, texts, letters. He doesn't respond. I've never pushed him either way. That's his choice to make. Me? I'm still climbing cell towers, still fixing servers, still coming home with grease under my fingernails. But I'm coming home to my son, to the kid I actually raised while Serafina was busy networking her way up the corporate ladder. People ask me sometimes if I feel bad about what happened to Serafina, about her losing her career, her reputation, everything. I don't. She made a choice. She chose a 24-year-old gold digger over her son's future. She chose to commit fraud over being honest about money problems. She chose to humiliate her family over doing the right thing. I just made sure there were consequences for those choices. The hardest part of all this wasn't the divorce, or the legal battles, or even the money. It was explaining to Zayden why his mother did what she did. How do you tell your son that his mother valued her affair more than his education? That she saw his dreams as less important than her boy toys' car payments? That she was willing to let him go to community college not because they couldn't afford better, but because she'd already spent the money on someone else? I couldn't sugarcoat it. I told him the truth. That sometimes people we love make choices that show us who they really are. That his mother had shown us she was someone who prioritized herself over everyone else, including her own child. He took it better than I expected. Maybe because part of him already knew. He'd seen her constantly on her phone with Jet, seen her spending more time working late than being home, seen her dismiss his achievements like they were nothing. The betrayal wasn't new. It was just finally named. Last week, Zayden asked me something. We were packing for his dorm, sorting through boxes. Dad, if she'd just asked, if she'd said she needed money for something, would you have helped? Depends what it was for. But like, if she'd been honest, would you have tried to work something out? I thought about it. Yeah, if she'd been honest, we could have figured it out together. That's what partners do, what parents do. But she didn't want a partner. She wanted permission to do whatever she wanted without consequences. He nodded, went back to packing. I think about that conversation a lot. Because the real betrayal wasn't the affair or even the stolen money. It was the fact that Serafina never once considered us, me and Zayden, as people who deserved the truth. We were just obstacles to what she wanted, resources to be managed or bypassed. That's not a marriage. That's not motherhood. That's just selfishness wrapped in family ties. Serafina's parents still think I overreacted, that I should have taken their money and kept quiet, that I destroyed their daughter over one mistake. But it wasn't one mistake. It was 3 felonies. It was 18 years of savings stolen. It was a relationship with a subordinate that corrupted her professional judgment. It was leaving her son with nothing because she decided a 24-year-old's gambling debts mattered more than her 17-year-old's education. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped protecting someone who was actively destroying us. Zayden's going to be okay. Better than okay. He's brilliant, hardworking, and now he knows what real loyalty looks like. He knows what it means to have a parent who fights for you instead of steals from you. And me? I'm okay too. Not thriving. Not celebrating. Just okay, which is more than I had when I was married to someone who saw me as a piggy bank and our son as an inconvenience to her affair. I sit in our small apartment sometimes, after Zayden's gone to bed, and think about the lake house, The place I sold to save his future. I loved that place. Loved the quiet. Loved the memories of taking Zayden fishing there when he was small. But I'd sell 100 lake houses if it meant my son got to chase his dreams. That's what parents do. They sacrifice for their kids. Serafina taught me that too, by showing me what it looks like when a parent does the opposite. Thanks for following this story. Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. Have you ever had to choose between protecting family reputation and doing what's right? What would you have done? And to any parents out there, your kids are watching. They're learning what love looks like by how you treat them. Make sure you're teaching them that they matter, that their dreams matter, that they're worth more than a car or a reputation or a career. Because at the end of the day, that's what they'll remember. Not how successful you were, but whether you fought for them when it mattered. I did, and I'd do it again.